The President-elect, of course, is beginning celebrations this weekend ahead of the inauguration on Monday, but he seems to be putting his foot down. Donald Trump's not happy. The President-elect, of course, is beginning celebrations this weekend ahead of the inauguration on Monday, but he seems to be putting his foot down.
Here in the UK, things aren't so rosy because it's revealed a record number of millionaires have fled the nation since Mr Starmer's entry into number 10.
Is the special relationship between the UK and the US falling apart? Keir Starmer finds himself in the hot seat as Donald Trump drops a bombshell live on air, exposing a dark secret that could shake British politics to its core. How did we get here, and what does this mean for the future of UK-US ties? Let's uncover the story behind the headlines.
And it is pretty embarrassing for Britain to have the special relationship that we have, and everybody knows we have it, with the United States of America, but Donald Trump has seen fit not to invite Sir Keir Starmer, no doubt because of his views on Donald Trump.
Starmer's absence from the inauguration sends a strong message. Trump hasn't forgotten past tensions and isn't ready to give the UK an easy pass. The pressing question now is whether Keir Starmer can mend this delicate relationship, or if Trump's lingering resentment has already cost the UK vital opportunities on the global stage.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be nice, right? But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. It's very early, but he's popular, and I'll be seeing him, and I'll send you regards.
Hey, quick favour before we move on. If you find this political content interesting, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Most of you watch without subscribing and it's free, but it helps us out so much. Have you done it yet? Thanks a ton for the support. The situation is critical. This snub goes beyond diplomatic strain. It's a test of leadership. All eyes are now on Starmer, as doubts grow about his capacity to guide the UK through the intricate challenges posed by a leader like Trump, whose unwavering focus on loyalty leaves little room for compromise.
On behalf of His Majesty's Government and the United Kingdom, I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States. For centuries, the relationship between our two nations has been one of collaboration, cooperation, and enduring partnership. It is a uniquely close bond. Together, we have defended the world from tyranny and worked towards our mutual security and prosperity. With President Trump's long-standing affection and historical ties to the United Kingdom, I know that depth of friendship will continue. The United Kingdom and the United States will work together to ensure the success of both our countries and deliver for people on both sides of the Atlantic.
The highly anticipated UK-US celebration takes centre stage, billed as the event everyone wants to attend. But with no Labour Party presence, it raises a pressing question. How can the bond between these two nations remain strong under such circumstances?
To Richard Holden, MP, Shadow Paymaster General. He's down, I think, in Westminster for us. Richard, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mike. Nice to hear you.
Yeah, good to see you. Big week this coming up. Obviously, Donald Trump's inauguration today. Fascinating what's going on in America with the way that he's kind of dismantling the wokery that's been gripping that country for the last 4 years under Joe Biden. A lot of our listeners and viewers this morning, Richard, very, very galvanised by Donald Trump and by him coming in and hoping that it's going to have some kind of knock-on effect on this country.
Critics of Starmer argue this is far from an isolated issue. His domestic energy policies, which clash with international trade objectives, and his approach to key alliances have sparked significant doubts about his global strategy. Many believe Starmer has struggled to align with the UK's broader international priorities. As for his handling of Trump, it hasn't done him any favours. While Trump prioritises personal loyalty and shared interests, Starmer's more critical and reserved stance may resonate with his domestic audience, but risks alienating the UK's strongest ally.
It's back in the headlines again because Sir Keir Starmer's deal has been delayed over, well, a whole host of reasons really, but it boils down to a lot of concerns over Chinese influence.
The challenge for the UK is unmistakable: restoring trust with the US while remaining aligned with Labour's principles. However, this is no easy feat when faced with a leader like Trump, whose lack of patience is well documented. Starmer's team is now under immense pressure to demonstrate that the UK can remain a dependable ally despite the current friction.
Will the Prime Minister show that he and his government can be more than student politicians by asking the Speaker to extend? Can they show that they can be more than student politicians?
Order. Mr. Perkins, I don't need to anymore. Your voice curries, it's like mine, too loud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Prime Minister show that he and his government can be more than student politicians by asking you, Mr. Speaker, to extend an invitation to President Trump to address Parliament on his next visit?
The clock is ticking, with trade agreements in jeopardy, defence partnerships under review and global relations growing more uncertain by the day. Any misstep could have far-reaching consequences. This isn't solely about Trump, it's about the UK's image on the international stage. Starmer's upcoming decisions will either solidify his leadership or reveal critical vulnerability.
Congratulating President-elect Trump on his historic election victory. As the closest of allies, the UK and US will continue to work together to protect our shared values of freedom and democracy. And having had dinner with President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago, I look forward to working with him in the years to come.
In the meantime, Keir Starmer sent Donald Trump a poorly worded congratulatory message that resembled a holiday greeting card. "Hope we're going to have a meeting soon," he wrote. However, Starmer wasn't invited, and the Daily Mail delivered more bad news. Almost no one in America knows who he is. A Vox Pop revealed that only 8 out of 100 Americans could even identify him.
Voting Keir Starmer, the UK Premier.
Yes, he's coming tonight.
What do you think of him? Some of his colleagues in government are quite critical of you.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be nice, right? But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. It's very early, but he's popular, and I'll be seeing him, and I'll send you regards.
The question remains, can Starmer adapt, or will this become yet another example of choices that hinder the UK's progress instead of advancing it? Starmer's leadership is now undergoing its most critical test. The tension with Donald Trump isn't merely a political story. It's a pivotal moment that could shape the UK's trajectory for years to come. With so much on the line, every decision he makes from this point forward will determine the future of the nation's global alliances.
Of freedom in the world. And so this presidency is worse than any of us could ever have imagined. It's obviously a disaster for the United States, but it's a huge disaster for the international community as he tears up climate change, as he reintroduces tariffs.
Trump's snub was far more than a symbolic gesture. It underscored the deep divide between their priorities. As Trump prepares for his inauguration, his first day back in office, the UK Prime Minister stands out as the only leader from a major world economy left off the guest list. It's a truly humiliating moment for the UK.
I think that Theresa May has been terribly humiliated today. She has looked like an appeaser, a sycophant, as someone she should rightly condemn for his statements today in the Sun, his statements about Britain, his statements about our mayor. She should condemn it instead of holding his hands. Trump should not be meeting our great monarch. He should not be meeting the Queen. He doesn't deserve it. The offer of this trip was premature in the first place.
Some critics believe Trump's actions are warranted. I'm glad Trump made this move. It's a bold statement against the UK government, Labour and Keir Starmer specifically, one commentator noted. By inviting figures like Nigel Farage, Trump is emphasising his commitment to loyalty and alignment with his agenda.
Well, I love the people of the UK. I mean, I've loved them. They show great support for me. When they were doing that ridiculous thing about a couple of months ago, the people of the UK showed such great support. I love the people of the UK. My mother was born, as you know, in Scotland. She loved Scotland. She loved the Queen. She was a great person, and she loved Scotland.
Starmer's critical and independent stance may appeal to his domestic supporters, but it risks distancing the UK from its closest ally. Trade negotiations have become increasingly fragile, particularly as Trump's energy priorities conflict with Labour's environmental policies. Without careful navigation of these differences, the UK could forfeit critical agreements, an outcome it cannot afford in a post-Brexit landscape.
Do you think Keir Starmer and Rachel from Accounts will look at any point in the next couple of years at what Donald Trump does and what happens to the American economy and to American society and think, maybe we should do some of that?
The pressing question is whether Starmer can mend this relationship without sacrificing his principles. Only time will reveal the outcome, but every decision he makes from now on carries significant weight. Trump's tendency to hold grudges is well known, and if Starmer missteps, it could have dire consequences for the UK.
Do you think Keir Starmer and Rachel from Accounts will look at any point in the next couple of years at what Donald Trump does and what happens to the American economy and to American society and think, maybe we should do some of that?
This is quite an exciting moment for Britain, a commentator joked, mainly because our Prime Minister has been such a disappointment that we're desperate for anything uplifting. It's almost absurd that he wasn't invited, especially when we're meant to have a special relationship with the US. He'll be sitting at home, watching it on TV like the rest of us.
Colleagues in government are quite critical of you.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be nice, right? But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. It's very early, but he's popular, and I'll be seeing him, and I'll send you regards. Who are you with? Who are you with?
Critics are increasingly questioning whether Starmer's concentrated focus on domestic policies is coming at the expense of the UK's influence on the global stage. With the world watching, his approach to international relations appears to lack the strategic foresight needed to maintain the UK's standing as a key global player. The recent fallout with Donald Trump has only brought these concerns to the forefront, highlighting the potential risks of a leader who prioritises internal issues while neglecting the intricate dynamics of diplomacy. This clash has not only deepened doubts about Starmer's global vision, but also sparked broader conversations about the future of the UK's international alliances in an era of shifting power dynamics.
Where we're marching because we are standing in solidarity with many Americans and communicating our huge disapproval with this president. A president who's said awful things during London's lowest moments of terrorism, who has attacked our democratically elected Mayor Sadiq Khan, a president who has retweeted.
The road ahead is not just a matter of diplomacy. It's a decisive trial of Starmer's leadership and ability to navigate a rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape. His capacity to adapt and effectively protect the UK's national interests is now under intense examination from both domestic and international observers. This moment is pivotal. Any misstep could not only tarnish his political legacy, but also alter the trajectory of the UK's influence on the global stage for years to come. With trade negotiations hanging by a thread and alliances becoming more fragile in an uncertain world, the pressure is mounting for Starmer to prove that he can rise to the challenge and secure the UK's role as a key global player.
The Prime Minister is continuing to deliberately mislead the British people to continue suiting his own narrative. And I'm afraid all of this nonsense that he couldn't say anything is simply untrue. And it's not true to say that the nature of terrorism has changed.
Starmer's confrontation with Donald Trump goes beyond mere headlines. It represents a pivotal moment for his leadership and the UK's global standing. The decisions he makes now will not only define his legacy, but also shape the nation's future in an increasingly unpredictable world.
Hello, yes, that's right. I'm with Suella Braverman now. Suella, what do you think Trump's inauguration means for the UK?
I think it means a huge amount. This is a real turning point for the Americans on secure borders, a sound economy, cutting inflation, an end to the woke, diversity, inclusion, nonsense that's taken over their military and their public institutions. And from a UK perspective, we must be able to absorb some of this changing trend and culture that will be led by the Americans under President Trump.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more updates. You can watch more videos from us